All right, so we'll talk about the parts that we need for the STI steering rack bushing install. So the original bolts that go through the steering rack bushings are going to be replaced with these longer ones. And the intent of that is, instead of ending in the middle of the subframe, it extends all the way through out to the end of the subframe. And then you have these spacers and these nuts. And by extending the length of it, you have less deflection, and it's clamping on both ends of the subframe. So this helps to stiffen up the steering response by itself, but also we have these higher durometer rubber bushings, and there's less deflection in the higher durometer. So one note I want to mention too while I'm talking about these higher durometer bushings is, if you're ever putting any rubber components into something, be sure to use some hand soap, dish soap, Dawn, whatever you want, to install it. It'll make it a lubricant when you're trying to get it in, but the added advantage is when it dries, it's actually glue. So lubricant when wet, glue when dry. Great stuff for installing rubber bushings, so I'll be doing that. So then moving over to the Cusco steering rack bushing tool, we've got the sleeve, we've got this plate, and we've got this bolt with 2 nuts, and I'll be going over how to use that subsequently. And then what I have here is 2 19mm wrenches. That's for the Cusco bushing tool. And then you'll need a 17mm socket and a 17mm wrench. So I'll get into that side of it, but just to let you know what kind of tools you'll need. And then I have also a 19mm socket for doing the Cusco steering bushing. Okay, so I've already removed the belly pan here. No need to really explain how to do that. So these are the 2 bolts you're interested in, and they're threaded into the subframe. So first thing I always recommend is to start with some PV Blaster. It never hurts. Doesn't cost too much time and effort, but it's worth doing because it can save you time and effort in the end. Next step, just go ahead and back these guys off. Okay, got the one out. And then with the other one, I'm gonna need a wobble for that. I forgot to mention that in the list of tools. If you're using an impact, you're gonna need to be able to get in there. So I use this. I like these universal drives. They don't bind up. They're impact friendly. Let me let you get in there. All right, got those bolts out. We won't be using those. Okay, next step, you're gonna go ahead and drop this guy down as much as we can. And then we're gonna pull these bushings out. Okay, as mentioned, we have this threaded bolt with a nut on it. We've got the sleeve, we've got this flat washer, and we got another nut. What they did is they put a hole here. This hole is so that you can get it up against this part of the steering rack. It's a clearance hole. So essentially you want to start like that, put this plate here, and slide this through. I ran this nut almost all the way in. You're going to run that through the bushing, and then what you're going to do is you're going to run that nut on the other end. So we thread it through, get it tightened down there. Okay. Once it's kind of snugged up enough that it's holding in place, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hold this outer one while you're tightening that one. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull the bushing into the sleeve. So we'll go ahead and get our tools here. I'm going to use a ratcheting box end here so I can turn this easily. And then this. I'll just hold it. So here we go. Appears to be working. Switch hands. coming along nicely. Doesn't feel too loose yet, so I'll keep going until I feel some obvious loosening. All right, so put these tools down. Looks like we got it. So the bushing's in the sleeve here, and we should be able to just take it out by taking the assembly apart. So we'll repeat the process for the passenger side. So back this nut back off. Put the sleeve on. In this case, we don't have to worry about that hole in it because that feature is not there on this side. So this one, I need a little more clearance for the nut. A little bit tighter. All right, got it in place. All right, same as before. Use a ratcheting box end, tighten the inner one, we're gonna hold the outer one. Now in this case, I can actually see the bushing through the hole, which is convenient. So it gives me kind of a visual gauge as to the progress of the bushing as it's moving out of the steering rack. It's about 2/3 of the way there. This is really easy. I've seen some videos where guys have used sockets and all thread and some various other tools. Man, you can't beat this for ease though. I think this tool, I got it from Japan Parts. I think it was like 30 bucks. And I had it shipped with some other parts. So for me, it was well worth the money just to go ahead and buy the tool. So there we go. Both the bushings are out. So we'll proceed with installing the new ones. So these are the bushings I just took out, and these are the STI bushings. From a visual standpoint, they're not much different. But interestingly, as I'm squeezing on it, yeah, these are noticeably stiffer. Much less deflection for the same amount of force. And this is the same force for each one. So definitely a stiffer bushing in terms of the rubber durometer. Visually, I'm not sure you could tell them apart, but definitely different. So to reinstall it, put the bushing on the tool like this. Still got the nut there, the bolt head, and then go ahead and put it on there. I'm gonna lube it up with some soap to make it go in a little easier. You don't need a ton of it. You just need enough that all the rubber bits that are gonna touch have some soap on it. And my thinking is I'll put the plate on the back, feed this through, put the nut on there, and then tighten it down. And see if that bushing won't go in there. Kind of the reverse of how we took it out. Let's see what happens. All right, I'm gonna hold it with the socket. Looks like it's going in. Not like that at all. Looks like it's cutting up the bushing. I'm going to run this back the other way. Yeah, sure looks like that bushing is getting cooked. I'm just going to keep running it in and see what happens. But I don't like it appears that it's the bushing is being looks like it's going in. I think what I need to do is next time is lube the inside of the steering rack so it'll help that bushing going easier. I feel like this went in a little hard. Or maybe a little more lubrication is helpful. All right. It looked like it went all the way in. Let's take a look, see what we got. Maybe I can tap it in, I'm not sure. All right, so I'm trying the other side. What I did is I lubricated the inside really thoroughly. I got lots more lube on the bushing itself. And we're just gonna see if this one goes in easier. Also, trying to watch to make sure that it's straight, in line with the hole, the bore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is the right way to do it. I don't like it. Okay, so I installed this bushing the same way I did the other one. Got it almost the same state. But the issue is when the plate is on the back side, once this part right here flushes out against the plate, it won't go any further. It needs a cup to go into. Unfortunately, this cup's too big to fit between the subframe and the steering rack. So the only thing I could come up with is to get a shorter cup, essentially. And what I found that I think will work is this clamp is exactly the same diameter as that cup. This is off of a Acura Integra radiator hose. Anyway, so it fits right there. My idea is to put a washer behind it and then use that to hold it as a cup to put it through. So I'm gonna give that a try. I'll start assembling it here and you guys can watch and see how it goes. I had to use 2 washers because the hole in the diameter of this one's too big and the head of the bolt, the head of the nut will actually pass through it. So there's 2 washers there. But you'd ideally want to use a washer that has the same diameter as the there's a bolt here. Okay. So its clearance is kind of tight. I'd actually probably use a narrower spacer than what I'm using, but this is what I have. So, and then I just need to get enough room to get this nut behind it. So I'm just kind of levering this rack back enough that I can get the nut on there. And then once the nut's on there, I can kind of align everything again. So let's see. Yeah. Okay, I got the nut on there. I can line everything up. Then, essentially, we'll do the same thing we were doing before, where we're holding this and we're tightening that. And God willing, that thing will go in there. We'll see. All right. Looks like it's going. I see that lip starting to kind of disappear into the rack. All right. It's very encouraging. I was actually not able to find a lot of information about how to install the STI ones. And the reason is you know, most of the people are doing the white line bushings, which are split. So you push one of the rubber bushings from behind, one this way, and then you slide the pin in, the sleeve in. And in this case, I don't believe these bushings come apart. Okay, I can see it starting to come through the other side. Yep, there she goes. Okay, so I think we're all set. We'll take this back apart, see how it looks. All right. Bolts out. Pull this sleeve contraption out. And actually, well, it's not bad. I think it actually has to go back the other way. I might have gone too far with it. It's not a problem because the original way that we removed it will work for sliding it back, right? So essentially that's this setup. Let's see if we can't get this thing in the correct position. I might have overshot it. I think that was the issue. So it seems to be moving okay. It's not the end of the world, honestly. Just a bit of finagling, I guess. All right, so we'll try it again. We'll move it back the other way. See what we get. Don't have to move much. All right, so put the ratchet on there, ratcheting wrench. I'm moving it back the other way. A little finickier than I expected, to be honest. I'm sure there's some special service tool that Toyota has, or Subaru, for doing this more accurately. But this is what I got. So we'll see. All right, look at that. Sweet. If you can see, we got rubber on this side, and we got rubber on that side. It's a little bit through. I wonder, it's on the forward side of it, it's still in a little bit. I wonder if a little hit on the hammer will pop that guy out. Yeah. I think it's fine. It's just a little bit back here that it's still kind of in the bore of the, oh, that's not it at all. Okay, so just the edge actually got torn off when I was pushing it through. I'm not worried about that. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the other side, off video, and then we'll proceed with the installation from there. I know I said I was gonna do off video, but I had kind of a aha moment. I don't need the washer on this side. So I can use the washer that Cusco gave me on this side, on the other side of that clamp. That'll obviate the need for the other washers I talked about. I don't know how I missed that, but I did. Okay, so we'll do just like the other side. We'll run this guy in. And I don't need much. I just need it to go through. So I'm gonna try not overshoot it like I did on the other side. Maybe I can get this in one shot instead of having to back it back off again. Okay, I can see it moving. And all I really need to do is just watch for it to kind of pop through on the backside. It's starting to emerge. Going at it kind of slow. Move a little further. A little more turn. I'm going to call that good. See how that looks. Back this back off. I can remove it completely. I can at least remove this part. The tension from here. Trying to see how that looks. I can't really see it, so I'm gonna have to take it apart. See what we got. Okay. Isn't terrible. So I'm gonna bring the camera over to it. So you can see it's got a little bulging. I'll try a flathead, see if I can't straighten that out. And then here's the other side. This one looks a little better. You can see that chunk that's missing from it. See if I can get a better light on it. So you can see that chunk up there. But I think that's okay. It's gonna be fine. Most of it's there. So here we have it. I'm gonna play with that other side a little bit, see if I can get it flushed out a little bit, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I got it in place. A little bit of it's still kind of in the bore of the steering rack. I'm not worried about that. It's essentially in place, and looks good. I'll take it. Okay, so what you want to do is if you've got any grunk or grime in there, go ahead and clean that out. That's where the bolt's going to come through. So you're going to take this collar that they give you, put it through there, right? Then you're gonna lift that steering rack up and you're gonna slide this new bolt through the steering rack, through the old section of it. A little bit of finagling to get it lined up again. Apparently it threads all the way in. So let me get a ratchet. There we go. Okay, there she is coming out the other side. And then you put this bushing in. Okay, once she's in there, we'll run this guy in. There we have it. So then we'll tighten these up. I got to check the torque on those, but let me do the other side, and then we'll get back to what the actual torquing is. Okay, I realized that my arm was in the way. You guys couldn't really see what I was doing. So we'll try to do this one so you can see it better. Okay. Got it lined up. Got the first few threads started. And as I did before, see it start to come out the other end. Okay. Once I see it start to come out the other end, I'll put that collar on there. Then I should be able to just kind of, there we go. It's in there. Then it'll just be the final torquing, and we should be all set. All right, so I've already got this set to 89 foot-pounds, which is the correct torque. I'm gonna hold the back side, and then we will torque this down. I like these because it gives you a visual and an audible indication of your torque, set torque. I can watch it coming as I'm approaching it, and then it'll beep. Getting close. All right, and we'll hit the other one. All right, so there you have it. The install was not as straightforward as like a White Line or a Perrin, or I think with all the other brands that have replacement bushings, specifically because they're not split bushings where you can put the bushings in without the sleeve from either side. These you have to press all the way through. I like OEM parts if I'm upgrading, so I prefer to go the STI route. I don't regret it, but it's a little more of a challenge to install than some of the aftermarket companies. But there you have it. I will try to do a driving impressions video, but for now, this is the install, and I hope it helps somebody out if you're trying to do it on your own. Thanks for watching. Okay, one thing to note. I messed up on this. So we're tightening this, and you notice I had to thread it in. What it means is there's threads inside this. So when I'm torquing this to 89 foot-pounds, that doesn't torque this guy. This guy has to be torqued separately. And I notice these are actually loose, right? So make sure you torque these up. There's not a good way to get a socket on here. You could use a crow's foot. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use a crow's foot. So let me get that, and then I'll continue the video. Okay, So here's the crow's foot. Unfortunately, the crow's foot is a 3/8 drive, and I don't have a 3/8 drive torque wrench. So it's going to be just good and tight. 89 foot-pounds is a lot. So I'm just going to, let me get these good and tight. 89 foot-pounds is close to what you do on a lug nut. I think Hondas are normally around 80. I think this car is close to 90 foot-pounds. It's pretty tight. I'm going to call that good. We'll do the other one. All right, so there you have it. Don't forget this very important step of tightening these nuts down on the backside. I almost missed it. Make sure you don't.